All right, so Real Madrid, Spanish Supercopa semifinal, they won. But we're going to dive into it. You've given us some interesting stuff to look at for this one. We've got the live updates, blow by blow from Al Jazeera. And we've also got a recap from the Standard. So kind of two different ways of looking at the same match. One's like, you're right there in it as it happens. And the other one's more like the polished version, the highlight reel.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see how the same event can be portrayed in such different ways, right? It's like comparing a live performance to a studio recording. Both have their own unique charm and capture different aspects of the experience.
Exactly. And that's what we're going to do, right? We're not just interested in the final score. We want to really understand how and why Real Madrid won. Especially because, the winner of this semifinal goes on to face Barcelona in the final. Which is, come on, that's the dream matchup right there.
It's a huge deal. The Supercopa brings together the top teams from La Liga, so the stakes are always high. It's a chance for early silverware, bragging rights, and to really set the tone for the rest of the season.
For sure. And speaking of tone, Al Jazeera, they set up this kind of David versus Goliath situation right from the start. You've got Real Madrid, the reigning La Liga champions, completely dominating the league. And then on the other hand, you've got Mallorca Copa del Rey finalists, which is impressive in itself. But let's be honest, they were definitely the underdogs going into this match.
Absolutely, and that's what makes this match so interesting. Both sources really emphasize just how tight it was for a significant portion of the game. Mallorca's defense was incredibly solid, holding Real Madrid, one of the most potent attacking forces in the world, scoreless for over an hour.
I know, right? I was following those live updates and thinking, is this really happening?
Right.
So let's talk about this Mallorca defense for a bit.
Yeah.
Because everyone keeps mentioning low block, but what does that actually look like on the field?
Okay, so imagine a team packing their defensive third with players, like a tightly woven net just outside their penalty box designed to suffocate the opponent's attack. That's essentially what a low block is. And Mallorca executed it brilliantly, clogging passing lanes, forcing Real Madrid wide, and limiting their shots on target.
So they weren't just passively standing around, right? Because I remember Al Jazeera mentioning some Mallorca forays forward, even noting that Real Madrid's Tchouaméni picked up an injury while defending against Lorient.
Yeah, they weren't just absorbing pressure. They were looking for opportunities to counter. And that Tchouaméni injury, that was a key moment in the match. He's Real Madrid's midfield anchor, and his absence definitely disrupted their flow and forced them to adjust their tactics.
See, this is what I love about these deep dives. It's the details that really bring the story to life. It's not just about the goals. It's about the individual battles, the tactical nuances, the moments that shift the momentum. And speaking of momentum, let's talk about the moment that changed everything. The Standard mentions Real Madrid raising the tempo, and then boom, Bellingham scores. But Al Jazeera's live description of the goal, that's what really caught my attention. It wasn't just a simple tap-in, was it?
Not at all. It was this chaotic sequence, a real pinball machine of blocked shots and ricocheting balls. It just highlights both Mallorca's grit because they were throwing everything they had at stopping that attack, and Real Madrid's relentless pressure finally cracking the defense.
I mean, could you imagine being that Mallorca defender? You're desperately blocking shot after shot, and then Bellingham still manages to slide it home.
Talk about demoralizing, right? But you have to give Bellingham credit. He stayed focused, anticipated the rebounds, and found the back of the net. A true moment of individual brilliance amidst the chaos.
Totally. And from there, things really started to unravel for Mallorca, did they?
Yeah, scoring forces the underdog to change their game plan, and that often plays right into the hands of a team like Real Madrid.
Exactly. They couldn't just sit back anymore. They had to push forward for an equalizer, which, of course, opened up space for Real Madrid's attackers to exploit. The Standard even mentions a missed chance by Vinícius Jr. just moments after Bellingham's goal.
Oh, yeah, that's a telling detail. Even with the lead, Real Madrid was hungry for more. It wasn't just about winning, it was about asserting their dominance. They were relentless in their pursuit of a second goal.
And they got it, eventually, through a Mallorca own goal, which is unfortunate for Mallorca, but I guess you could argue it was a direct result of the pressure Real Madrid was applying.
For sure, when a team is constantly on the back foot, desperately trying to defend, mistakes are bound to happen. And Real Madrid, with their clinical finishing, was ready to capitalize on any slip-up.
Right. It's like that saying, pressure makes diamonds, but it also cracks pipes. In this case, Real Madrid was the diamond shining under pressure, while Mallorca, unfortunately, was the cracked pipe.
That's a great analogy. It perfectly captures the dynamic of the match. We see it all the time in football. Once a team gets that first goal, the floodgates can open, especially when you have a team like Real Madrid with so much attacking talent, sensing blood in the water.
And that brings us to Rodrigo's goal in stoppage time. The final nail in the coffin, as they say.
Yeah.
The Standard describes it as icing on the cake, which I think is a perfect way to put it.
It absolutely was. It showcased Real Madrid's ability to punish opponents even when the game is seemingly over. They don't let up, they keep pushing, and that's what makes them so formidable.
Totally agree. But here's the thing. The Standard also throws in this line that the scoreline flatters Real Madrid. What do you make of that?
That's where the analysis gets really interesting, right? On paper, a 3-0 victory seems like a comfortable win. But when you dig deeper, like we're doing here, you realize it wasn't quite that straightforward.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's where Al Jazeera's live updates are so valuable. They capture the back and forth, the moments of tension, the near misses. They give us a more granular perspective, reminding us that Mallorca, despite the final score, put up a valiant fight.
They absolutely did. For over an hour, they frustrated one of the best teams in the world. They were disciplined, organized, and even dangerous on the counterattack at times. It wasn't just a smash and grab for Real Madrid. They had to work for every inch of that victory.
Which goes back to that question we posed earlier. Does Mallorca holding Real scoreless for so long actually make the final score more impressive for Real Madrid?
It definitely adds a layer of complexity to the narrative. It forces us to acknowledge Mallorca's resilience and the tactical battle that unfolded on the pitch. It reminds us that sometimes, even in defeat, there are victories to be found.
Absolutely. And for Real Madrid, this wasn't just about securing a spot in the final. It was a statement of intent, a reminder to the rest of La Liga that they're still the team to beat.
But it wasn't a perfect performance by any means. They showed vulnerability, they had to adapt, and they were pushed to their limits. And that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating. We're not just celebrating the winner, we're examining the nuances, the turning points, the individual battles that shaped the outcome.
So for those listening at home, if you were in charge of either team, what tactical changes would you have made? Would you have done anything differently?
Yeah, would you have stuck with the low block for as long as Mallorca did? Or would you have gambled earlier by pushing forward? It's easy to judge in hindsight, but that's what makes these post-match analyses so engaging.
Right, it's armchair managing at its finest. And it's a reminder that there are always multiple ways to approach a game. And that the beauty of football lies in its unpredictability.
Absolutely.
It's a game of constant adjustments, both on and off the pitch. And that's what keeps us coming back for more, right?
Couldn't agree more.
So, with that being said, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll delve into the implications of this match for both Real Madrid and Mallorca, as well as the upcoming Supercopa final against Barcelona.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned.
We'll be right back.
All right, so we're back. And before the break, we were talking about Real Madrid's hard-fought victory over Mallorca in the Spanish Supercopa semifinal.
Yeah, it was a closer match than the final scoreline might suggest.
Exactly, and we were just getting into the implications of this win for both teams. So let's start with Real Madrid.
Well, for them, this victory is a massive confidence booster. They showed resilience, they had to overcome some adversity, and they ultimately got the job done.
It's a real statement of intent, isn't it? Like, La Liga, we're still the team to beat.
Absolutely, and they'll be heading into the Supercopa final against Barcelona with a ton of momentum.
Speaking of Barcelona, they had a pretty comfortable win themselves in their semifinal against Athletic Bilbao.
Yeah, they look really sharp. So this final is shaping up to be an absolute cracker.
I can't wait. It's the matchup everyone wanted to see, and after dissecting Real Madrid's performance against Mallorca, it's clear that they'll be ready for the challenge.
For sure, but Barcelona will be no pushover. They're a quality side, and they'll be looking to make a statement of their own.
It's going to be epic.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show how a single match can have such a ripple effect.
Exactly. This wasn't just about Real Madrid beating Mallorca. It was about setting the stage for a showdown that will captivate the entire football world.
And that's what makes this deep dive even more fascinating, right?
Yeah.
It's not just about understanding what happened in this particular match. It's about appreciating the context, the implications, the storylines that will continue to unfold as the season progresses.
Precisely. It's about the bigger picture, the narratives we create, the rivalries that transcend generations. It's about the human drama that unfolds on the pitch.
Speaking of human drama, let's circle back to something we touched on earlier. The idea that underdog performances are valuable even in defeat.
Right, it raises an important question. What constitutes a successful performance? Is it purely about the win-loss column, or is there more to it?
Well, Mallorca might not have lifted the trophy, but they certainly made a statement. They showed incredible defensive resilience and a fighting spirit that earned them respect from everyone watching.
They forced Real Madrid, one of the most dominant teams on the planet, to dig deep, to be patient, to overcome adversity. In a way, they made Real Madrid a better team by pushing them to their limits.
That's a great point. It's a reminder that even in defeat, there are valuable lessons to be learned, growth to be had, and narratives to be shaped. Sometimes losing gracefully can be just as impactful as winning decisively.
Absolutely. It's about the journey, not just the destination. And for Mallorca, this journey has been remarkable. They've proven they can compete at the highest level, and that's something to be proud of.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's give a nod to Mallorca for their valiant effort, and to Real Madrid for their hard-fought victory.
And to you, our listener, for joining us on this journey of exploration and analysis.
We hope you've gained a deeper understanding of the tactical intricacies of this match and the broader narratives that shape the world of football.
And remember, this is just one chapter in a much larger story. So keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the things that fascinate you.
Because the more we understand, the richer our experience of the world becomes. Until next time, keep the passion for the beautiful game alive.
Cheers to that.
Okay, so you know what's really cool about all this? It's not just about Real Madrid winning this match. It's that by winning, they've set up this, epic clash with Barcelona in the Supercopa final.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's it was meant to be the football gods were smiling on us or something.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the matchup everyone wanted to see. And I think after kind of, going through Real Madrid's performance against Mallorca, they're going to be, super confident going into that final.
Oh, totally. But, Barcelona's no joke, right? They kind of cruised past Athletic Bilbao in their semifinal.
Yeah, they looked really good.
So, I think this final is going to be a real nail-biter.
Oh, for sure.
It really highlights how, one match can have these huge ripple effects. It wasn't just about Real Madrid beating Mallorca. It was about setting the stage for this, massive showdown that's going to, captivate the entire football world.
Exactly. It's not just about this one game. It's about the bigger picture.
And that's what makes this whole deep dive so fascinating, right? It's not just about, understanding what happened in this one match. It's about appreciating the context, the implications, the storylines that are going to keep unfolding throughout the season.
Yeah, totally. And it's also about those narratives we create around the game.
Oh, for sure.
The heroes and villains, the rivalries that span generations. It's about the human drama that plays out on the pitch.
And speaking of human drama, let's go back to something we talked about earlier. That idea that underdog performances can still be valuable even in defeat.
That's a good point. It kind of makes you think, what does it really mean to have a successful performance? Is it just about winning and losing? Or is there something more to it?
Right, Mallorca might not have won the trophy, but they definitely made a statement. They showed so much resilience defensively and just this fighting spirit. I think they earned a lot of respect from, everyone watching.
Oh, yeah, totally. They forced Real Madrid, one of the best teams in the world, to really work for it. They had to be patient. They had to dig deep. They had to overcome adversity. You could even say that Mallorca made Real Madrid a better team by pushing them to their limits.
That's a really interesting way to look at it. It's a good reminder that, even in defeat, there are still lessons to be learned. There's still growth to be had, and there are still stories to be told. Sometimes losing gracefully can be just as powerful as winning,
Absolutely. It's not always about the destination. It's about the journey. And for Mallorca, this has been a pretty incredible journey. They've proven they can compete at the highest level, and that's something to be proud of.
For sure. So I guess as we wrap up this deep dive, let's give a shout out to Mallorca for their effort and to Real Madrid for, ultimately getting the win.
And of course, to our listeners, thanks for joining us on this little journey of exploration and analysis.
We hope you've learned something new about, the tactical side of the game and maybe even about the stories that, kind of shape the world of football.
And remember, this is just one small part of a much bigger story. So keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep into the things that interest you.
Yeah, because the more we understand, the more we can enjoy the beautiful game. And until next time, keep that passion alive